Hello, hello. This is Yuri of Moving Sales Professionals and Let's Talk Moving podcast. And with me today, I have Sariel Lehyani, the owner of Transdimensional Moving in New York City, with over 10 years in the industry. How you doing today?
Hi, how are you?
Good,
I'm
good,
fine.
good. Thank you for joining me. So, Sariel, how did you get started in the moving industry?
Almost by accident, I moved to New York to be a designer, and I was trying to design for all these different companies, but all the design work that I was getting, I just like didn't want to do. It was like Coca-Cola. It's just stuff I didn't want to do. It felt kind of evil. So I started just doing a side hustle I had a pickup truck. I was in New York City. I started posting on Craigslist, like, hey, I have a pickup truck, like I'll move your stuff. And I got a few hits that way, and it kind of just built from there. And then I decided to kind of take it a little more seriously, and I reached out. I would post on Facebook, and then I would get tagged simultaneously with this other person. And so one day I reached out to him, and I was like, hey, I noticed that I always get tagged with you. And his name was Twiz, and he was like, oh yeah, like, hate to break it to you, but I have a monopoly on like the moving in New York, pickup truck moving in New York. But maybe I'll send you some jobs. And so he invited me over one night to like drink at a bar, and he was like, "He seems like you got a good head on your shoulders." And then he started sending me work, and then I took it from there, and now I'm way bigger than he's ever been. It's pretty crazy start, but yeah, started out a pickup truck.
Yeah, I find that, I mean, a lot of people that I interview here say that they got in it by accident. So I think that that's true for a lot of people. I mean, you get some people that say, "Oh, my grandfather used to do it. Oh, my father used to do it." But a lot of people do say that they got into industry by accident. So I mean, I certainly did. I was doing sales, and then I found myself without a job, and then I found myself in the moving industry somehow. So yeah, I can certainly relate to that. A lot of us can.
I don't think a lot of people, like, not a lot of people go, I'm dreaming of being a mover, and they just discover it and they're like, wow, this is actually a lot more satisfying than I ever expected it to be. And you just kind of keep going.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if it's working, why not continue, right? And now for a word from our sponsors. If you're a moving business owner, you may have already heard of Moversville, an email marketing service that helps moving companies increase, repeat, and referral business. But have you heard of Moversville Connect? Moversville Connect is an incredible resource for all things moving. They feature an array of vendors and services that cater specifically to the moving industry. You can find companies that provide moving software, moving sales services, marketing services, moving equipment providers, and much, much more. Visit moversville.com today to learn more. So, what differentiates you from your competitors?
Well, probably one of the main things that differentiates us from our competitors is that we are queer owned, queer operated business, and we serve not completely, but much of our client base are queer and trans folks. So that's a big part of our community, and we sort of have an ethos around fair pay, respecting identities, and just a certain level of empathy that comes along with our community and like moving them, and also like getting we one other thing we do is we get people out of abusive situations, or we help people out of sort of domestic violence kind of situations. We have social workers who work for us, just on the side because they enjoy doing that work, and so it's probably our main differentiator.
And I think that's huge. So this feeds into something that I talk about on this podcast a lot, which is basically finding a niche and finding and doing something that's unique. So that's something that Serial is certainly doing, focusing on the community that he's focused in the New York City. And of course, you have the same communities across the country, and you have other companies that certainly filled that niche in other places. Although I'm sure that not every city may necessarily have that niche filled. And I think it's important because it makes this so about so much more than just moving. We're talking about more community connection. We're talking more about connecting to real people, whether they're having hard time in their lives because they are having domestic situations, or whether it's something else. And like I said, I talk a lot about uniqueness, and I think this is unique. And I encourage everybody to versus trying to say, like, look. A lot of people contact me, and a few people contact, I'll be honest, complained about piece of cake in New York City, right? and they wanted to talk about piece of cake and that what they felt piece of cake was doing wrong or what have you, right? But I'm not here to talk about piece of cake and what they're doing wrong. I'm here about to talk about your company and what makes your company unique versus piece of cake and or anybody else that may be in that area that you're operating with. So that those are the things that I want to talk about, right? So you are doing something that is definitely unique, and that's great.
I do want to say that, a lot of companies in New York have gone out of business because of piece of cake. And I do think one of the reasons that we're still around is because we have this sort of niche community that supports us through whatever things happen. And, there's actually like a big, for a long time, I was really focused on piece of cake and what they were doing and how they were taking everything over. And it was, almost affecting my mental health, as with a lot of other moving companies in New York. But at some point, I kind of was just like, I don't actually care anymore what they're doing. Like, I'm just going to focus on what we're doing and just do a really good job. The way that I did before, Piece of Cake even existed, when Dumbo was the company that I was like shaking my fist at, or, whatever it
Right.
was. There's always another company out there that's doing it bigger. And honestly, like, my goal isn't to be one of those companies.
Right.
So, what I've found is actually the best thing is just, like you said, zero in on what you know and what you're good at, and like just like rock it.
Right. Does your company need more creative marketing and ad campaigns to improve traffic and organic leads? Well, Moving Sales Professionals has a solution for you. We have partnered with social media marketing agency that has over 300 million views on their ads and videos across social media, and they have generated over $35 million for their clients over the last 10 years alone. Their services include content creation, social media ads, pay-per-click campaigns, website and funnel development, Google Ads, email marketing campaigns, lead generation, and much, much more. For limited time only, they have discounted rates for their services. Sign up for a free consultation call with us via our Calendly link on our website or below this video. And I'm generally so I don't promote any specific moving companies, as you guys might have noticed throughout the podcast, but I do highlight certain things that certain companies do that I feel are great for the industry and are a great example, whether it's focus on social media or focus on specific community or things of that nature. So I will say one thing about Piece of Cake. So this is not meant as a piece of cake promotion by any means. So to put that disclaimer out there. In fact, I've never talked to owner of Piece of Cake or met any of them at all. So this is not meant to be designed that way. But I do believe, and of course somebody can tell me if I'm wrong on this subject, but I do believe at the very least that Piece of Cake is one of the first moving companies. I don't know if in the world or in the entire United States, but certainly in New York City area, to think outside the box and to put the name of not only have a pink color truck that obviously draws attention simply because it's pink, but also by putting the name of their company, their logo, and their contact information on the top of the truck and not just the sides of it, like everybody
True.
else.
It's true.
So,
And in a
and
city like New York,
right. I
people are
mean,
going to see it.
you have a day trader that comes out in his corner office and he looks down, uh, and he sees a pink truck with a name. Which company do you think he's gonna call when he's looking to move? When he's seen those trucks, you don't even have to have those trucks have anything inside of them. All you have to do is just run them back and forth across Manhattan, a couple of times a day, and it's huge promotion. And I give major props for, I mean, honestly, I have no idea who came up with that idea. But whoever came up with that idea, that marketing person is a genius. And I give them major props, because to think that outside the box and to use something like that in a big city like New York, where there's high building skyscrapers, obviously people are looking out of their offices and seeing that. It's such a huge promotion that beats any TV commercial or anything like that. It's just this amazing product placement, and I can't help but be truly admire that, because I think you can talk about what you want, whether the company is putting other companies out of business. And to be honest, these days I do have New York clients, and I do know what Piece of Cake charges, and they're not cheap. They might have been before. They might have been less expensive before, where their goal was to put companies out of business and have less competition. But realistically, look, if you're sending out a fleet of 200 to 300 trucks a day, and each one of those versus 2 trucks, 3 trucks, 5 trucks a day, and your profit is $75 a truck per day, for example, versus $200 a truck per day that you have to have when you have less trucks going out, $75 a day per truck times 200 trucks, that's one hell of a profit per day. You can say whatever else you want about it. If you have that type of money to be able to invest in it in the long term, you will knock companies out of business. And that's a marketing strategy. That has nothing to do with anything else people may be saying about piece of cake. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. I don't dabble in rumors or things like that. Nothing that I personally can prove myself and see physical proof of. But between marketing with the trucks, between that kind of focus, it's ingenuity and it's entrepreneurship and it's business at its best. And once again, I'm not setting out to market piece of cake or Dumbo or anybody else for that matter. That's not my goal. I talk about business and business strategies and uniqueness of what we can do in general to highlight our business and to get us attention basically and make sure we have more clients. Those guys are certainly doing it. And to be honest, I'd love to get their marketing guy on the show and ask him how he came up with that idea, where that whole thought process came from. I would love to talk to that person. I think a lot of people would love to hear what other genius ideas that person has, because it truly is, whether it's a full marketing department that came up with that or a single individual.
Yeah. I mean, I could probably find out, honestly. But
No, and honestly, I'd love to have somebody like that, because that is ingenuity and it makes you think, okay, what is it? Let's think outside the box. What is it that we can do that can be unique that will allow us to grow our business because of our uniqueness, right? Not because of competition that's doing, like, let's not talk about competition. There's always going to be competition. Look, when I opened up my call center, I barely had any. I have a lot more competition today than I did in 2018 when I opened, but I still do things uniquely versus my competition.
yeah, and that's one thing, when I remember being, before Piece of Cake popped up, I remember saying like to myself, I was like, I was starting out and I was kind of writing my thing and I was doing it differently and it was really working well. But I did know, I said, no, there's no moving company that I know of who has got, because I'm a designer, I have a design background. I'm the type of person that, if someone had hired me, like would have come up with, put the logo on the roof. Like that's my job, to come up with that kind of stuff. And I knew, as I was like doing this business and focused on just building my business, that there was a massive hole where no one had really done design in moving. Like no one had done it well. All the websites were garbage. Like everybody was doing like, and it's still kind of that way, lowest common denominator, like just get something up. Like it was just, the logos are bad, like the truck designs are stupid. Like this is kind of like, and nothing against anyone from a design perspective, moving the effort that's put into design and moving is low. It's always been low.
There's a reason for that, because that's not, frankly, for most moving company owners, that's not a priority. Their priority
It's
is
not
to move somebody, hopefully with the least possible damage, if at all, and hopefully gain a
exactly
lot of followers, gain a lot of reviews, and grow that way. Hopefully,
right.
hopefully,
And
that's what you want.
but as a designer, I knew like when someone figured this out and they had the money to back it up and all those things, like it would be massive. I just knew that. And Piece of Cake did it. Like they did that thing. They have a dope website. Their social media is great. Like their marketing is awesome. Their logo is good. It's simple. Everything that they've done, more or less, and from a marketing perspective, is, you can't argue with it. It is really, really a great brand. People remember it, the snapping fingers, like it's so simple, it's solid. Like they did a great job. The Piece of Cake, it's pink, appeals to all kinds of people. The idea of something being so simple, it's a piece of cake. The snapping fingers, oh, this is going to happen instantly. It's going to be easy. And the fact that they stick their marketing and logo everywhere that they can, their whole thing is visibility, and that's always been their focus, just getting in front of the most people. So every one of their trucks is there. They came up with that idea. Probably they were just like, how can we maximize every part of our truck. And so they were just like, well, the top is part of our truck. People see that, you know, it's a logical conclusion. When your goal is to maximize your exposure, it's a logical conclusion to include the top of your truck. If you can, and if you have the money to back it up and to do that to all your vehicles, like, why wouldn't you? So, and they've done that
Oh, I'm
everywhere.
sure it's paid off too.
They even, like, I saw them, their guys have their shorts. They have their uniforms include shorts that have their logo on them. Like, every piece of clothing that they wear has piece of cake on it. Like, that is their thing, exposure. So that's what they've done. And it worked, and they did a good job, and they found a good angle. And like, it's hard to argue with all that. How, you know, I'm not going to get into all the rumors or whatever, which I think most of us know what they are anyway. Anyone who knows who piece of cake is, so no need to get into it. But like,
And to be
argue.
devil's advocate, to play devil's advocate a little bit, I do like Dumbo's commercial.
Dumbo's commercial's awesome. It is
The
good.
one where he drives over a pink piece of cake.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
pretty good. It's pretty
You
good. But
you
I don't
got
know.
you got to
Oh,
enjoy certain parts of this little competition that they got going on over there, right?
yeah, and they have other stuff. I mean, I know that there's other things with Dumbo and them, and like they used to work with each other, and it's a whole thing. And you know, there's software that was allegedly stolen and other stuff.
Yeah,
But
that stuff I don't know about. So,
yeah, I read an article about it. But at the end of the day, like, you know, Piece of Cake did a really good job at doing the thing. Their pay structure is designed in a particular way to maximize so that they always will make a profit no matter what. Even if they cut their rates very low, you know, other things suffer as a result of that, but it works. They've just designed the whole thing that way. I am wondering, I mean, they've scaled so fast, like it's hard to see how they could sustain that for me.
I mean,
But
personally, from afar, examining that whole thing, it's a genius. Like they did the low prices to grow fast, but the thing is this, their prices are no longer low.
well, they
So
will
if
be
you guys, you don't know that either. They may
well,
be, but they probably won't be as low as they've been. And at the end of the day,
which is
here's for any moving company, especially when it's scaled and when it's on the larger scale, if you are able to send out 200 trucks, that puts you in a neighborhood of your own in a specific city because there's probably not too many companies that can match that,
Mhm.
and ultimately if that's what you're doing, you need to keep those guys working.
It's
Even
true.
if that means that you take a loss wintertime or you make very little profit. But realistically, if you're at least breaking even, and by breaking even, you're keeping those 200 trucks on the road and you keeping those thousands of guys employed. Because if you're keeping 200 trucks on the road, you do have thousands of guys working for you, probably hundreds for sure. Right.
Mhm.
So, in order to keep all those guys employed, especially if they're good foremen, if they're truly skilled, if they're really good guys, if they're guys that can really do great work, you need to keep them working because those are the guys that keep the lights on for you.
It's true. It's
So if you
true.
break even if your model allows you to break even during winter and make a killing during summer, then you're in good shape. You're not losing money because
Well,
you're
I mean, that's
breaking even,
pretty much what they do. They undercut everyone in the winter, and then on the summer, they jack their rates up, which is
which
like,
is
I mean,
which
I
is a
think
which is a
every
business. That's a business
company,
structure. Now we're talking
every
about
company does
business
that, but
structure.
the degree, I think the way they do it is so much more extreme than the way other
Well, because
companies have
they have
done it in
200
the past.
trucks or something like that,
Yeah,
right?
so
So
they
if you have
just
that
like,
many trucks, once again, if you have that many trucks, the average per truck allows you to do that.
and I mean, it goes back into their strategy of exposure, which is we're gonna, you know, charge way less in the winter, get as many, we're going to keep getting as many eyes on us as we can so that when the summer comes around, people still know who we are and they're still referring their friends, and we're going to take advantage of, you know, all those people that we moved cheaply in the winter. You know, we're going to get all their referrals in the summer. And that's, you know, and when you're doing that with 200 trucks, it's that same thing. It's just be out there as much as possible, make sure that as many people know who you are as possible, you know, do a decent job and like keep it moving that way. And they're gonna, I mean, the thing is, like, there's people who aren't really too worried about them. They're gonna be all over, you know, they're already in Miami, they're already in LA. Their goal, it's pretty clear, is to become a national everywhere company. They're trying to be everywhere. So
Right.
any mover out there, you know, be aware that they're coming and you want to be ready, I think. That's what I think.
Right. And I think the main thing I think is this. Stop complaining as a moving company owner. Stop complaining about what somebody else doing. It's not about them, it's about you. It's about that you and about what you are doing and what you're willing to do and what you can be to be creative. Look, I say on behalf of good companies, and obviously I'm pretty clear about who I work with. Okay. And Sariel knows this because Sariel, we used to work with Sariel. So Sariel knows this firsthand that we're not there to lowball. We're not there to provide best estimates. We're there to provide legit service. We're there to provide accurate quotes. That's how we do our business, right? That is our business model to make sure that you guys have as little problems as possible, right? So across the board, we're 100% supporting uniqueness, and we're 100% supporting focusing on what can you do better. We tell clients all the time, we're not going to be the cheapest, and we know we're not the cheapest. We're going to tell you that we're not going to be the cheapest. But we're also going to tell you that we're not going to be the most expensive either. You are paying for great service, and you're paying for a peace of mind. Those are the words that people like to hear. They want to make this very stressful thing that we do, which is moving. They want that to be as calm and as peaceful and as easy as possible. I stopped myself from saying piece of cake, notice. But
I know
anyway,
you were very
I
close.
I try to make it we try to make it easy and I think that every company needs to focus on that way. You need to attract customers by what you do that's unique versus trying to say, well, we're not these guys, or these guys do this, or these guys do. That's not what your customer wants to hear. What they
Mm,
really want to hear is, what is it that you do? Why
mm.
should they choose you? And that's what you need to make it about.
I agree. I used to be, like I said, I was in design. I still do some, but I was in design, and I used to read a lot of blogs by tech people who had started with startups, and often the startups who either failed or didn't, a lot of times the ones who kind of didn't do as well, and they would kind of they would blog about the whole journey of, having this business and all these things. There was one I always remembered, which was the lesson was that it was, he's like, we got so caught up focusing on our competition and what they were doing that we stopped focusing on the thing that got us where we were in the first place. And when we stopped doing that is actually when things went off the rails. And then while the other company wasn't paying attention to us, they were just continuing to do what they were doing. And so I think that, it's good to be aware. It's good to be aware of what's happening in your environment. I think that's, you have to be. And you have to still stay true to whatever it is that makes you unique. And if there's not anything that makes you unique, then you have to figure it out. You have to find that thing, because that's all that's going to keep you around really in the long term.
So you got to follow your path, and I wish everybody the best of luck in the world. I mean, I want the industry to do well.
Mhm.
Obviously, we're a big part of it now, and we want to make sure that everybody does well. I mean, I'm certainly there, available for free to all of my clients with any questions or any help with in terms of, how they want to handle specific moves, or if there's a unique situation, or how do you do this or how you do that. We're there supporting that. So we want to make sure we support our clients' growth. That's extremely important to me.
Absolutely.
But we can talk about this type of stuff forever.
That's
So
true.
thank you very much for joining me, Serial. And like I always say, the world moves on its own, so let the professionals move yours for you. Thank you very much for joining our podcast. Like, subscribe. We'll provide some information for Serial's company if you want to check it out and everything. And once again, thank you very much, and we'll talk to you again soon.